welcome to our first podcast that we are doing live from AI.MAG. I'm your host, I'm the editor-in-chief from AI.MAG. My name is Peter Krell, and I wanted to talk about recent events that we have been attending and also developments related to AI and also related to AI.MAG. So right now, this is my creative studio in Hamburg. This is where I do some of the layouts or also, work on music. You might have heard some of the AI tunes I've been making, or hybrid productions, and also analog produced tracks. And I'm sort of happy to have, after Corona, been able to go to Hamburg to make this in a place here in a studio that is built out of wood, which is great. And I'm very blessed to be able to report about these things, I guess. So what I wanted to actually tell you is that there has been some recent developments in AI that some people might be thinking about whether or not this is a great development, or whether we would have to consider this to be even maybe frightening or dangerous in some regards. And in order to also, take away some of this fear, I would like to talk about our take on what's currently going on. So I've been recently doing some traveling. I forgot to say, we also have another office in Berlin, in the CIC Berlin, and this is where we do also some part of the layout and also interviews or meetups with other companies or people who are in Berlin, and so we are getting to be in several locations. There are a few more team members that we have on our editor list, and some of them are like internationally distributed, let's say, and I think that's a great constellation to have, to being able to basically bring some flavors from other territories too, in order to paint a broader picture. And like you might know, what we are doing with AI.MAG is that we cover AI in various verticals, and then there are like times when there's like a new development in a certain field, and then we focus on these, in order to have like a bit more like condensed information. So the next issue is coming out very soon. Actually, it's supposed to be already released, but we didn't release it yet because there were some files still missing, and now we added these, and so you can expect this next AI.MAG to be released like maybe tomorrow-ish or the day after. And there will be, again, like we always do, German, English, right? And maybe some other language we might add. And then there will be also the machine-generated podcast that we do. And now this is new, that I'm talking myself live, a human being who's been also doing the traveling, who's been doing some of the networking. And well, we also have like great news to share, so this is what I'm going to do at the end of the podcast, let's say. Okay, so that said, what's been going on right now recently is there has been the great event by Marco Landi called the WIFE, the World AI Film Festival in Cannes, where there were lots of people attending from the international movie scene, not so much from Hollywood, but maybe more from Europe, I would say, and also from other parts of the world, like for instance where the satellite events are located at, which is for instance in Brazil or in Kyoto, in Japan, in Seoul, and also in China. So this is great to have for concept. I think the WAICF has been the first event series that has been created to be in Cannes, and this is like another event series called the World AI Cannes Festival. And from the same group, the Institut Europea, then came the WIFE event last year, right? The WAICF has been going on for a while already, I think 3 years or 4 years now. And it's also continuing, and so is the WIFE event. So the WIFE event has been taking place like last year for the first time in Nice, and this year in Cannes, and this year was really amazing. There were lots of people there, including celebrities like Claude Lelouch, the old eminence who has been also involved with like lots of film productions from France, including Jean-Paul Belmondo and many other famous actors. You probably know some of these movies also if you're into Nouvelle Vague. He did some parts, some movies like that. Also, he's got his own style to do movies. So this gentleman stepped on stage in Cannes, and then he gave his outlook on the industry, and he said basically that his main conviction is that AI movies are the continuation of the Nouvelle Vague with the technical means of today. That means that the vivid fast camera movements, and also like just shooting without maybe eventually even having a script or an idea what's going to happen. This came from the Nouvelle Vague, and this freed up like many people who were having a Super 8 camera or a 16mm camera, and they just created movies, and these are now part of the international film history, and they inspired amazingly great numbers of people all around the world. And if you're looking at action cinema, all of these fast cuts, these fast camera movements where you sometimes don't even know what's actually happening, these are basically generated from these Nouvelle Vague first initiative movies that have then enabled other movie makers to step in these footprints and create their own narrative structures. But that, if it would have been that easy, then that's great, but it hasn't been that easy. And as a matter of fact, to launching your movie or any movie in a cinema, you need tremendous amounts of money to do so, and there are lots of regulations, and back in the days when they still have the movie material, then you will need to get physical movie copies, and to manufacture these was also very expensive, because there was in the days still silver in there, and and then they changed the process, but still the copies became an issue, and also getting them at scale, lots of numbers, is really not easy to do for an independent, right? So there were some funding programs that try to enable that, but still, looking at the main potential storytelling potential that billions of people might have in comparison to a few 100,000 people maybe, or maybe even less around the world, who are in the industry right now and who have their professional life built up around these gatekeepers, let's say the gatekeeper framework. This is kind of now being attacked by the AI movie making. On the other hand, the tech is still fairly new and it's still evolving, and so what we're seeing right now is actually an early stage of some new development that will eventually reorganize and restructure how the market works and how films are being produced. And then this also lowers the entry barrier for many news stories that may be getting told in the future, to a point where lots of people can consider becoming a movie maker now and trying to find an audience on a platform. and if it's not YouTube, because YouTube has started already to ban some of these contents, it could be another outlet, right? And there are already also other platforms like emerging where they're having like hybrid content or AI content only, and these are, I think, trying to move away from the slab, right? The slab in AI is like also some, I think, a timed event to occur in a certain time window. And these are probably going away after a given time. Also, if you remember when the internet was new, then lots of people were coming up with websites, and there has been like a tremendous amount of professionalization going on. And the same you could expect basically in the field of AI movie making. Alright, so this is like what's going on right now. There's also climate impact that these movie productions in the AI realm have. So if we did that at scale, this could be an issue for the planet when looking at all the crypto mining and all the cloud business that's going on top of that. And all the other applications that using AI and tokens, and they need to be cool, they need to be manufactured, they need to be operated with electricity. That's also becoming, for certain communities already an issue. When you're living close to a data center, there might be some difficulties, or the electricity price might go up, or water prices could be affected, and lots of other downsides to the upsides that we're also seeing. So what we're also seeing is there are like some interesting emergent properties, let's say, or new movies, narratives that are using this tech in a certain way, where I would argue there is some myth involved, like sort of a darkish kind of like I don't know how to say, maybe a cyberpunk goth or cyber goth vibe to it, which is like a bit on the dark side in several ways. Also maybe due to the training material that have been used to train these AI models, right? And also because there's lots of other tech related stuff going on, like under the hood, where you would like write a prompt and then the outcome would be in a certain way, and this is like what is causing this entire field to be also in the style domain, and somehow, at least in lots of cases, similar, let's say, right? So developing your own style at the moment is quite a challenge, and some people already getting away with like great new achievements, and out of these some are then rewarded. So one great news was when we just recently went to Monaco to the AI Film Fest that has been organized by Josef Sente and Victor Tamer and lots of other people. AI activists were there, AI companies were in parts also sponsoring and enabling this new and rather unusual new activity that a guy like Josef Sente, who was actually in charge of the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs, and more on the crypto side of things, is now pushing to a new audience also that is in parts maybe interested in crypto, but also now, since crypto is having an impact by AI, or is affected by AI strongly, right? So the smart contracts are getting more agentic properties, and there are some also in trading or in other domains, parts that can be optimized and maybe automized in a certain way where they don't become a liability in the end, because you can somehow steer some of these procedures, I was told. Of course, there's always like Shor's algorithm looming in the background, with quantum algorithms, quantum computer algorithm that would be able to break all the cryptography that we currently have. There's also quantum resilient cryptography out there, like Hedera has been always having the this DLT called Hedera, where I was an ambassador of many years ago. This is like an interesting way to look at things when the quantum resilience can be added on to the distributed ledger technology that they are using, right? So there's a way that's what I mean to get like the activities that you're having like also still secured by switching to another security protocol, let's say. So then when the Shor's algorithm is going to be eventually functional, then there are ways though to still save or encrypt some of the data that you need to encrypt, because lots of transfers, or whenever you use your credit card or any other payment online, or you sending around like some more restricted informations, then you really need to have like some sort of secrecy level, I would say. I mean, some people argue against that. If you're a libertarian, you probably wouldn't agree, maybe, or you would agree because you need strong security because you're doing stuff that is not okay, maybe for many other people. Well, I'm not getting too far into this because for me this isn't a personal question. I just want to hint at, okay, there's this crypto, and then now we're talking about AI movies. And these AI movies are, I think, in some ways also challenging narrative structures like we know them, because you gotta imagine if there's like a gatekeeper who's saying, okay, you can only do a movie if you have like 100 million euros to spend, and without that you don't get a global distribution, or you don't get maybe even a national distribution in some countries, and then you also need to pay the teams and all the professionals that are working in this field, and sometimes they get really high salaries, and so 100 million sometimes isn't even enough to make a movie. And if you're having these kinds of amounts, of course, that need to get spent, then you look at every action on the movie, any dialogue line maybe, with more scrutiny, just because you need to try to recoup then this money at the box office, right? And so this is causing certain dramaturgies that went already well, like Rambo, for instance, to become sequels. And since people don't want to test out new material that much because they looking at the money side, there haven't been really that many new dramaturgic challenges, said someone like me who has also studied dramaturgy. So I think the time is ripe to have like a new approach here, and this is what we're seeing right now. There are lots of people who are sharing this point of view. There are also some movies that are hinting at the dark side of what Hollywood has, mainly Hollywood has tried to like push more under the rug or more under the carpet, let's say, to make certain inconvenient truths go away that are involved with this star system that they've created. And why have they created this? Well, because this is also the money side of things, right? And so does this take away some parts of the realness that these stories have, or maybe their potential cultural critique that always was like an aim from the so-called author filmmakers, right? To Ken Loach, for instance, try to have like a more social point of view, and this is like from England, a filmmaker that maybe some people also don't agree with to focus on, but I think we should focus on these, other dramaturgies that are also possible and that maybe eventually need to be created, because if you are watching certain types of content, this will affect you in some ways, maybe also unconsciously, and so we got to be aware of which kind of selection one does consume in order to being able to make a good decision, a good informed or well-informed decision about the unconscious parts that also need to be somehow taken into consideration. So me, I've been doing the AI.MAG for quite a while now, and we've been, 3 years in, have had some impact here and there. And now we have been talking with Marco Landi, and he has appointed me to become the president from the Institute Europea that he has created. This is an institution that is also, let's say, creating the events in Cannes. And now with other presidents in other regions too, there are now ideas how to bring new events to other territories and maybe more, so there's a lot of activity going on in the sovereignty space. There's also lots of other developments here, also on the hardware side, which is also very interesting. I'm going to talk about this a bit later. So if you're looking at Germany, we're having a very particular situation also when it comes to movie funding, or the international role that the Median Board, for instance, does play in the financial part of enabling movies, right? Where, if you're an international studio and you want to get some additional money, I think Terminator 3 was financed with German money completely, when we still did have the tax break structure back in the days. And this went away. There isn't any tax incentives nowadays for private investors, but there's funding money you can get, and you can get this from several sources. And right now, they don't have an agenda to particularly fund AI movies, and maybe it's unnecessary to do that. Why? Because the production costs in comparison are fairly affordable, let's say, right? And at the same time, though, because this material is arguably derivative material from other material that these AI models have been trained on, there might be some copyright infringements that have been conducted with the training of AI models. So if you're looking at the global picture, there are certain types of regions where this would be more interesting, and for other regions maybe not. So if you're a nation where you have lots of copyright material, then of course you like to protect that. But if you're a region where copyright maybe doesn't matter that much because you're a socialist country, or because you don't even have a movie production because it's too expensive, then maybe you're less likely to look and only focus on the copyright part, right? So we're talking about an vested interest, and these vested interests are basically driving the game in some regards. And there are new techs out there right now which are trying to protect these rights, or give loyalty to some people who do have a stake in the game. But there are also lots of other people who are just trying to develop new ideas, and they want to tell a story. And like someone at the Monaco AI Film Fest said, and this is opposing the viewpoint that was circulating at the World AI Film Festival, was from mentioned by a Chinese woman in the AI movie making business. I'm not going to tell her name, but she meant this lady or this woman basically mentioned that there's only 100,000 people roundabout in Hollywood, you know, and there are maybe like few billion people who can also tell stories, and these storytelling capacities should become like a human right? And now you can think about, you know, if you're looking at the global picture, what's where are the weights here? You know, how, I mean, we need to have a discussion about this, obviously, because we're already having a world where some few people are having lots of capital aggregated in you know, their own disposals, let's say, and lots of other people who are tending to become almost like servants, right? They need to follow the money. They need to, basically, the unwritten rules in the democracies, where also in socialism, where, you know, people who are having certain capital can, in some regards, you know, take away the freedom from other people, and then there's also the way where, you know, some people need to do all the work for like really low money, when other people do lots of money without doing that much of the work, just because they are in possession of more money eventually, right? Or they have invested lots of money and then they want to recoup that money. And so they're also enabling people to, you know, create some change. And I think this change is necessary. And sometimes people argue, oh, this particular person, also if you're looking at me, doesn't have a big rep in this movie business. Okay, I agree to that. But I must say, I studied movies and I tried to do movies, and I know that getting through these like gatekeeper mentality hurdles and this entire system that they've created isn't easy, right? Even though you might have some interesting stories to tell, they are probably going to be blocked because, you know, they're also looking at their own vested interests. And this is related to certain values that you need to propagate in the movies or be okay with. Like, for instance, also massive amounts of violence or some stuff like that, or like narratives, they are repetitive, you know, when it comes to murder stories, or maybe horror movies, the zombies are out, all this kind of you know, almost cliche-like narrative structures. They are becoming also so commonplace and in parts so very boring that some people don't even consider watching movies anymore. And I think watching movies is very important. And to being able to tell a story with audiovisual means is maybe going to become some capacity that humans have or should have, just like writing or drawing or, you know, maybe singing, or if you're looking at the music side also, there are lots of developments there. But I think we gotta limit ourselves, and this isn't going to be the only podcast that we do. I just wanted to give you a broader picture and tell you what we're doing right now. So we went to Monaco, and then after this I went tonight actually, to the ADC Award Show. What is the ADC Award Show? The ADC Award Show is the Art Directors Club Award show, where, you know, first of all, the talents and people who are still like in university in the creative space are showing their work and getting, like, you know, awarded by a jury that selects these works, looks at the works, and then, you know, selects the best basically. And then they're having these like so-called nail awards, right? And then getting all these nails out to everyone who's like winning a part. And there are lots of categories, and also there's a bronze nail, a silver nail, and also gold nail, right? And you can accumulate these in order to then even take part in a bigger, broader picture. And this is more interesting for the professional sides, because after the talent award, which is a bit earlier, then comes the professional award show. And this professional award show is basically where all the advertisement companies in the creative field are competing against each other. So tonight, Scholz and Friends went third, and then there was TWBA or TWBA, who went second, and then Jung von Matt went first, right? And they have all like interesting material out there. In parts, some of these projects are also using AI. I don't think to like the main part yet, but there is like, you know, tendencies there. You could basically sense this when I went. And there's lots of like creative happiness, let's say, right? Creative happiness. And sometimes they're taking it very much to the abstract. If you're looking at this one Hornbacher video that they did, or the, you know, FAZ campaign was also kind of funny. If you're looking at some of these commercials, it's great, but I sometimes wonder where they run these, because I haven't seen many of these like in the types of media that I'm consuming. But maybe that's also just me, and you guys might know all of these. Also the McDonald's commercial that they found so great. And then they sometimes having like brands stepping on, like for instance, Jung von Matt has with Six made a campaign about the cars, and they just did made a campaign that was very successful, and they added some funniness that I can translate from German. Well, basically, they ask a famous model to do the cover version of that particular piece. Okay, but that is not something that I want to focus on that much right now. I just wanted to give you a broader picture. You know, there's like this happiness community of advertisers out there, and they're very happy about what they're doing, and past they're already adopting AI in certain ways, right? But they don't have restrictions when it comes to, for instance, generating an entire campaign just with AI. So what's interesting here is that this award is a creativity award, right? So what they're awarding is a creative idea, and also how they made this idea then into a campaign or into a commercial, or, you know, how well it also performed is decisive sometimes too, right? Yeah, so this is like what it is, and I think that's great, and there seems to be some synergies with what we do. Also, I would argue maybe with Monaco, they've been raising some questions that are interesting also for people in Cannes, and the Cannes Festival was also very, very professionally organized, and I think also fairly well done. I've never seen any AI movie festival yet on the planet that is that great, right? So I think Marco Landi and his team has created, and Julian Raoult have created a really fancy event. So when we went, they also introduced the idea that we might do some Wife Berlin event, right? And this is what we are also going to do in September. So starting on the 10th of September, we'll have the Wife Award. I mean, the Congress started similar to the format in Cannes, right? And then there will be a competition also, and a jury that is going to select some of these works and reward them afterwards. So on the 11th, which will be the second conference day, there will be also an award show in the evening, right? And so we try to call this the World AI Film Festival Berlin event, a satellite event, and we are also happy to, you know, include like great productions, right? And we're very happy that the ceremony AI movie from Mark Wachholz has won an award in Monaco, and we would like to really, you guys gotta check out this movie. It's online on his YouTube channel. You can Google it or put it in YouTube. I can also put the link in the description, and then you will see you know what it is. And we will also add some additional information about the Wife event that we're doing in Berlin. So the call for movies is going to be announced very soon. And also in the next AI.MAG, we are going to feature lots of women who are inside this domain and who like to do their own movies. And these women-generated movies I've seen are sometimes completely different from what we know, and this is really challenging to seeing, like, also, or if there are minorities too, using this kind of new way to express themselves, where there is also an edge that Hollywood doesn't have, simply can't cover because of several aspects that I've been just talking about. I'm sure Hollywood can change, but so far we haven't had any movies from Hollywood inside any of these AI movie festivals, and they're popping up here, right? And I think that's necessary to have more of these events, so that people getting also a picture about what's possible even. And we are also moving towards a time when there will be like complete feature film length AI movies or hybrid productions. And if you ask what is a hybrid production, well, hybrid production can be you're having a photo from a character or a certain, a location, right? And then these you can use for prompts, and if you do it well, and we also put like a prompt aid into the next AI.MAG, how you can use Seedance 2, for instance, to your advantage, being a filmmaker, an AI movie maker. And also, if you aren't an AI movie maker or you don't consider yourself to be one, you could maybe test around with this, and you'll be quite surprised what's even possible nowadays. And I think Tom Cruise, he doesn't have to jump down a cliff anymore. These are some of the stunts that also risking their actors' lives, right? And some actors maybe don't want to risk their lives like that. Where you can, play it safer and also less cost intensive. So these are good ideas, but we still got to look at the climate part, and the climate part is a bit difficult. And so I'm just going to hint at some idea that you may be able to use, like new chips that are in Germany right now, using a photonic process to do the interference in this video generative process. And there's going to be a new startup